My husband handed me divorce papers on a Tuesday morning while I was making his coffee. He didn't look sad. He didn't look conflicted. He looked relieved, like he'd been carrying a burden and was finally setting it down. "I want a divorce," he said. "I've met someone else. Someone who understands me better. Someone more compatible with my lifestyle." I looked at the papers, then at him. Then I said the words that would haunt him for years. "Okay, I'll sign them, but we need to do full financial disclosure first." He smiled. Actually smiled. "Of course, standard procedure. My lawyer will send over my financials." That's when I knew he was hiding something, because my husband, Marcus Chen, didn't smile when discussing money unless he thought he was getting away with something. I'm Elena Chen. For 12 years, Marcus thought I was just a middle school math teacher, sweet, simple, not particularly interested in finances. He handled all our money, made all the investment decisions, paid all the bills. I just taught pre-algebra to 13-year-olds and trusted my husband. What Marcus didn't know, what I'd never told him, was that before I became a teacher, I was a certified forensic accountant. I'd worked for the FBI for 6 years, tracking money laundering operations and financial crimes. I'd found hidden assets for some of the most complex white-collar crime cases in the country. I'd quit when we got married because Marcus wanted me to have a less stressful job, because he thought teaching was more appropriate for a wife, because he liked the idea of having a simple, sweet wife who didn't threaten his ego with a high-powered career. I'd loved teaching, so I hadn't minded, but I'd never let my skills get rusty. I still read financial journals, still followed forensic accounting developments, still had my certification active, just in case. Just in case my husband ever tried to hide assets from me in a divorce. This is the story of how Marcus Chen tried to cheat me out of millions in our divorce, and how I found every single penny he tried to hide, every offshore account, every shell company, every asset he transferred to his mistress, everything. And how, in the end, he lost absolutely everything while I walked away with 75% of our marital estate and enough alimony to live comfortably for the rest of my life. But to understand how satisfying that ending is, you need to understand the 12 years that came before it. I met Marcus when I was 32, working brutal hours for the FBI. He was a successful financial consultant, charming and ambitious. He swept me off my feet with expensive dinners and weekend trips and the kind of attention that made me feel special. 6 months in, he proposed. A year later, we were married. It was perfect, or so I thought. The problems started small. Marcus suggesting I dress differently for his work events, Marcus critiquing my job choices, Marcus making jokes about my little teaching salary compared to his 6-figure income. I'm not saying you're not successful, just that we're in different leagues financially. It's not a big deal. But it was a big deal to him. He needed to feel superior, needed to be the breadwinner, the smart one, the one who understood money. And having a wife who'd once tracked financial crimes for the FBI threatened that identity. So I played along. Let him manage our finances, let him make me feel like I didn't understand investments or taxes or retirement planning. Let him be the expert while I just cashed my teaching paychecks and handed them over to our joint account. But I watched, always watched. I saw him open accounts in just his name, saw him make investments without discussing them, saw him slowly shift our assets into places where I had less access. "It's more tax efficient this way," he'd explain. "Trust me, this is what I do for a living." I trusted him. Until I shouldn't have. The affair started about 2 years ago. I noticed the signs: late nights at work, secretive phone calls, new cologne, the classic tells. I didn't confront him. I just started paying closer attention to our finances. That's when I noticed money moving. Small amounts at first. 5,000 here, 10,000 there. always explained away as investments or business expenses. But the pattern was wrong. The timing was suspicious. I started documenting, creating spreadsheets, tracking every transaction, and I noticed something interesting. Marcus was preparing to divorce me, preparing to hide assets, preparing to make sure that when he left me for whoever he was seeing, he'd keep as much money as possible. He was transferring money to accounts I couldn't see. He was undervaluing his business. He was buying assets in other people's names. He was doing everything a guilty husband does when he's planning to cheat his wife in divorce court. And he had no idea I could see every single move he was making. When he finally handed me those divorce papers, I'd been ready for 6 months. I had documentation going back 2 years. I had tracking on every suspicious transaction. I had evidence he didn't even know existed. But I played dumb. Sweet, simple Elena, the math teacher who didn't understand complicated finances. I should probably get a lawyer, I said, looking at the papers. Obviously, Marcus said. I'll cover your legal fees. I'm not a monster. I just want this to be fair. Fair. He used that word a lot in the coming weeks. Fair division of assets, fair settlement, fair to both of us. What he meant was, I get to keep everything I hid, and you get whatever I decide to give you. His financial disclosure came a week later. It was a joke. He listed our house at $850,000. It was worth $1.2 million. He listed his business at $400,000. It was worth at least $2 million. He claimed he had $200,000 in retirement accounts. He had closer to $600,000. He listed $50,000 in savings, while I knew about at least $300,000 in various accounts. His lawyer probably helped him construct this fiction. Undervalue everything, hide what you can, make it look like there's barely anything to split. I took the disclosure to my lawyer, Rachel Kim, one of the best divorce attorneys in Seattle, and watched her face as she read it. "This is bullshit," Rachel said flatly. "He's hiding assets. I can smell it." "I know, and I can find them." "What do you mean?" That's when I told her about my background, my FBI work, my forensic accounting certification, my 6 years finding hidden money for the federal government. Rachel's eyes went wide. "You're a forensic accountant?" "Was. Am. I never let the certification lapse." "Does your husband know?" "No, I never told him. He thinks I'm just a teacher who's clueless about money." Rachel started laughing, actually laughing. "Oh my God, he has no idea what he's done." "None. Alina, with your skills, you could tear apart his finances completely, find everything he's hiding, make him look like a liar and a fraud in court." "I know, and that's exactly what I'm going to do." We made a plan. I'd start with his financial disclosure and work backwards. Every account he listed, I'd verify. Every asset he claimed, I'd appraise. Every number he reported, I'd fact-check. And then I'd find what he didn't list. It took me 3 weeks. 3 weeks of late nights, spreadsheets, database searches, and the kind of financial investigation I hadn't done since my FBI days. But I found everything. Marcus had been very busy. He'd opened 3 offshore accounts in the Cayman Islands. Total value, $847,000. Money he'd slowly transferred from our joint accounts over 3 years, thinking I wouldn't notice or wouldn't understand. He'd created 2 shell companies that owned rental properties worth $1.4 million total that weren't listed anywhere in his disclosure. He'd undervalued his consulting business by claiming recent losses that were fictional. Tax returns showed the business was thriving, worth closer to $2.3 million. He'd transferred $200,000 worth of stock to his girlfriend, I finally found her name, Jessica Park, claiming it was, quote, payment for consulting work.
Except Jessica wasn't a consultant. She was a yoga instructor who'd never done business consulting in her life. He'd hidden $150,000 in a retirement account under his mother's name, thinking I'd never check family members' finances. In total, Marcus had hidden or undervalued nearly $4 million in marital assets, and he thought I was too stupid to find any of it. I documented everything: bank statements, property records, corporate filings, tax returns, wire transfers. I created a 47-page report that laid out every single hidden asset, every lie on his financial disclosure, every fraudulent transfer. Then I gave it to Rachel. "Holy shit," she said, reading through it. This is the most thorough asset discovery I've ever seen. He's going to be destroyed in court." That's the plan. With this evidence, we're not just talking about you getting half, we're talking about you getting most of it. When judges see this level of deception, they punish it hard. Good. We filed our response to his divorce petition, attached my 47-page report, requested a full forensic audit of all his accounts and businesses, requested sanctions for his fraudulent financial disclosure, requested attorney's fees, requested everything. Marcus's lawyer called Rachel the next day. I could hear him yelling through the phone from across Rachel's office. "Your client is making wild accusations. These are baseless claims. Mr. Chen has been completely transparent." "Then he'll be fine explaining the Cayman Island accounts to a judge," Rachel said calmly. Silence. Then, "What Cayman Island accounts?" "The 3 accounts totaling $847,000 that aren't on his financial disclosure. Should I go on? Because I have 46 more pages of things he forgot to mention." More silence. Then the lawyer hung up. That night, Marcus called me, the first time we'd spoken since I'd moved out. "Elena, we need to talk about this misunderstanding." "What misunderstanding?" "Your lawyer is making accusations that aren't true. I don't know where she's getting this information, but..." "From public records, bank statements, and corporate filings. Also from the wire transfers you thought you'd hidden. Also from your girlfriend's bank account where you deposited our marital funds." "I don't know what you're talking about." "Yes, you do. You've been hiding assets for 3 years. You opened offshore accounts, you created shell companies, you undervalued everything. You transferred money to Jessica, you lied on your financial disclosure. And I found all of it." "How did you..." He stopped. "You couldn't have. You don't know how to..." "I was a forensic accountant for the FBI for 6 years, Marcus. I tracked money laundering for terrorist organizations. Finding your amateur asset hiding was easier than teaching fractions to middle schoolers." The silence on the line was long and heavy. "You never told me that," he finally said. "You never asked. You were too busy thinking I was stupid, too busy underestimating me, too busy hiding money you thought I'd never find." "Elena, please, we can work this out. I made some mistakes, but..." "You made calculated decisions to defraud me in our divorce. That's not a mistake. That's a crime. And now you're going to pay for it." I hung up. His lawyer called Rachel the next day with a settlement offer. 55-45 split in my favor. Marcus would give me the house and $600,000 cash. He'd keep his business and his retirement accounts. Cute, but no. "What do you want?" his lawyer asked. 75-25 split in Elena's favor. She keeps the house. He buys her out of the business at actual market value, $2.3 million. She gets 75% of that. He pays her $250,000 in attorney's fees, and he pays spousal support of $8,000 per month for 10 years. That's insane. That's punitive. That's fair, given that he committed financial fraud. Would you like us to pursue criminal charges as well? Because Elena has evidence of wire fraud, tax fraud, and hiding assets from the IRS. We've been considering whether to report it. More silence. Then, "We'll need to discuss this with our client." The case went to court 3 months later, Judge Sarah Martinez presiding. She was known for being tough on financial fraud in divorce cases. She didn't tolerate lying.
Marcus took the stand first. His lawyer tried to spin everything. My client made some errors in his initial financial disclosure, but there was no intent to deceive. He just wasn't thorough enough. Judge Martinez looked unimpressed. Mr. Chen, you're a financial consultant. You help people with their finances for a living. And you're telling me you accidentally forgot about $4 million in assets? It's complicated, Your Honor. There were many accounts, and did you open 3 accounts in the Cayman Islands? Yes, but did you list those accounts on your financial disclosure? No, but I didn't think. Did you create shell companies to hold rental properties? For business purposes. Did you list those companies and properties on your financial disclosure? No. Did you transfer $200,000 to Jessica Park, with whom you're having an affair, and claim it was for consulting work she never performed? Marcus went pale. I don't know how you— Answer the question, Mr. Chen. Yes, he whispered. Did you undervalue your business by nearly $2 million? The valuation was complex. Mr. Chen, you have lied to this court. You have attempted to defraud your wife of her rightful share of marital assets. You have committed what I can only describe as systematic financial deception. She looked at me. Mrs. Chen, you're a teacher, correct? Yes, Your Honor. And you discovered all of Mr. Chen's hidden assets yourself? Yes, Your Honor. I have a background in forensic accounting. I worked for the FBI's Financial Crimes Division for 6 years. Judge Martinez actually smiled. Mr. Chen, you tried to hide money from a former FBI forensic accountant. That might be the stupidest thing I've heard in 20 years on the bench. People in the courtroom laughed. Marcus looked like he wanted to disappear. Here's my ruling, Judge Martinez continued. The marital estate will be divided 75% to Mrs. Chen, 25% to Mr. Chen. Mrs. Chen keeps the house. Mr. Chen will buy out her share of his business at the actual market value of $2.3 million. She receives 75% of that amount, $1.725 million. Mr. Chen will pay Mrs. Chen's attorney's fees in full, $250,000, and Mr. Chen will pay spousal support of $8,000 per month for 15 years. 15 years? Marcus's lawyer objected. The marriage was only 12 years. Yes, but Mr. Chen's fraud has extended the support period. Consider it a penalty for lying to this court. And Mr. Chen, you're lucky Mrs. Chen isn't pursuing criminal charges, because based on this evidence, you could absolutely be prosecuted for wire fraud and tax evasion. I suggest you take the settlement and be grateful. Marcus looked destroyed. His lawyer looked resigned. They had no choice but to accept. I walked out of that courtroom with 75% of everything we'd built, with the house I'd loved, with nearly $2 million from the business buyout, with guaranteed income for 15 years, with my dignity and my future intact. Marcus walked out with 25% of what he'd tried to hide, with legal bills he couldn't pay, with a reputation in ruins, with his family and friends knowing he'd tried to cheat his wife, and with Jessica, his girlfriend, who left him 3 months later when the money dried up and he couldn't afford the lifestyle she'd expected. The day our divorce was finalized, Marcus sent me one last text. You underestimated me. I replied, yes, you did. That was 2 years ago. Today, I'm 46 years old. I still teach middle school math because I genuinely love it, but I also do forensic accounting consultations for divorce cases. I help other women find hidden assets, help them prove their husbands are lying, help them get what they're owed. And I live very comfortably. The house is paid off, my retirement is secure, I travel every summer. I have the life Marcus tried to steal from me. Except now it's fully mine without a lying husband attached to it. Marcus, from what I hear, is struggling. The business took a hit after the divorce settlement payout. His reputation suffered when people found out he'd committed financial fraud. Jessica left him. His mother won't speak to him after learning he'd put assets in her name to hide them from me. He tried to destroy me financially. Instead, he destroyed himself. People ask me if I feel guilty, if I think the settlement was too harsh, if I should have been more merciful. My answer is always no, because Marcus didn't make a mistake. He made a calculated plan to cheat me. He spent 3 years moving money, hiding assets, and underestimating me. He thought I was too stupid to notice, too simple to understand, too trusting to investigate. He gambled on my ignorance. And he lost everything. The irony is beautiful. Marcus married me partly because he thought I'd be easy to control, a sweet teacher who didn't threaten his ego, who didn't understand complicated finances, who'd never challenge his authority over money. What he didn't know was that I understood finances better than he did, that I had skills he couldn't comprehend, that I was letting him think he was in control while I watched and documented and waited. And when he finally showed his hand, when he tried to cheat me in the divorce, I showed him exactly who he'd married. Not the simple teacher he'd underestimated, the FBI forensic accountant who'd found hidden money for the federal government for 6 years. The look on his face in that courtroom when Judge Martinez mentioned my background was worth every sleepless night I spent tracking his assets. The moment he realized his stupid wife had found everything he'd tried to hide was the sweetest victory of my life. I'm Elena Chen. My husband tried to hide $4 million in assets during our divorce. He thought I was too dumb to find it. He didn't know I was a forensic accountant who'd worked for the FBI. I found every penny. I documented everything. I destroyed him in court. He walked away with 25% of what he tried to steal. I walked away with 75% of everything, plus 15 years of alimony, plus the satisfaction of watching him realize he'd underestimated the wrong woman. And the best part? I didn't have to lie or cheat or hide anything. I just had to be better at my job than he was at his. I had to be smarter, more thorough, more patient. I had to let him think he was winning while I gathered evidence. Then I presented the truth. In 47 pages, with exhibits, with documentation he couldn't deny. And the truth destroyed him more thoroughly than any lie ever could have. If you're going through a divorce and you suspect your spouse is hiding assets, hire a forensic accountant. Don't assume you'll never find the money. Don't let them convince you that finances are too complicated for you to understand. Document everything, question everything, and never, ever let someone underestimate you without consequences. My husband thought marrying a teacher meant marrying someone he could control. He was wrong. He just married someone smart enough to hide her skills until the moment they'd destroy him. And that moment came in a courtroom, in front of a judge with 47 pages of evidence that turned his lies into my victory. The numbers don't lie. Marcus tried to hide them, but I'm a forensic accountant. Finding hidden numbers is literally what I do. And I'm very, very good at my job.